Hallo und herzlich willkommen. Schönen guten Abend zur letzten Drink-at-Home-Verkostung im Jahr 2020. Wie wir alle wissen, die Zeit vergeht so schnell. Hallo und herzlich willkommen. Schönen guten Abend. Sehr herausfordernd heute in einer Woche Verkostung ist im Jahr 2020. Wir haben heute die 26. Wie wir alle wissen, die Zeit vergeht so schnell. Und herzlich willkommen im Jahr 2019. Sehr herausfordernd heute in einer Woche Verkostung ist im Jahr 2020. Wir haben heute Internet mache, dann hätte ich gesagt, na, Entschuldigung jetzt den Ausdruck, du spinnst, aber leider ist es Wirklichkeit geworden. Aber das leider ist nur darauf bezogen, dass wir nicht wirklich miteinander Bier trinken können und dass wir uns ganz einfach nicht sehen können. Sehr froh bin ich, dass wir mit dieser Drink-at-Home-Serie gestartet haben eine Reise gemacht durch fast ganz Europa, waren in Amerika, natürlich auch in Österreich, haben viele nette Leute getroffen und heute haben wir zum Abschluss eine sehr spezielle Brauerei, die sehr außergewöhnliche Biere macht. Es ist eine Verkostung, die sicher alkoholtechnisch die schwierigste ist, auch geschmackstechnisch nicht ganz leicht ist, aber das Gute ist, wir sitzen alle zu Hause, sprich wir brauchen nicht mehr Auto fahren, wir sind auf der sicheren Seite und können deshalb die Biere genießen. Ganz kurz das normale Prozedere, bevor wir beginnen. Ihr habt wieder gefunden in euren Paketen, falls noch es immer Leute gibt, die zum ersten Mal dabei sind. Es gibt diese Verkostnotizen in euren Paketen, wo ihr ganz einfach findet, welche Biere wir verkosten, und auch kurze Notizen und gleichzeitig auch die Reihenfolge. Auf der Rückseite ganz kurz unsere beiden Gäste aus England vorgestellt und dann meine Wenigkeit. Und dann gibt es den Verkostungsbogen, wo ihr euch ganz einfach persönliche Notizen machen könnt und eintragen könnt, was ihr mitgenommen habt von der Verkostung. So, und jetzt würde ich sagen, hello, good evening to Manchester. Hello, Simon, hello, Dan. Really, it's an honor to have you. You know, you are quite new for most of the beer drinkers here in Austria. I had a proper tasting with Simon, I would say 6 weeks ago, and then I decided, okay, let's bring these beers to Vienna, to Austria, and show the people what you are doing. You are based in Manchester, a really young brewery. Good evening. Again, Simon and Dan. Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
We are quite well and quite excited to get the beers tasted, you know. But first of all, I would say, you know, say a few words about, maybe, Simon, you start, about your person, you know, what is your position in the company, when you joined Wander Beyond. Tell us a little bit about you and your position.
Well, my name's Simon Carroll. I've been with the company a good 8 or 9 years now. I joined as a manager of the Not Bar, which is a craft beer bar in Manchester, possibly like the first ever craft beer bar in the city centre of Manchester. During the last year, I've moved over to the brewery. I've taken on the role of sales, particularly export sales to countries all over Europe and the world, including Austria, which is very nice to be involved with. I've been here for a few months and yeah, really enjoying it. I mean, it's a whole new world for me. But one I'm really enjoying, and I'm grateful you've had us on, Marcus. Thank you.
Perfect. So one question. What was the name of the craft beer bar in Manchester?
It's called Not Bar, but it's spelt Knott.
Okay. And it was one of the first?
Possibly the first craft ale bar in Manchester. We sold a lot of real ale, like cask ale in the first instance, but as obviously beer trends developed, we ended up with, I think, 25 different keg lines on and a range of beers in the fridge from all over the world. It's part of the same company, but yeah, I've moved over now and I'm at the brewery.
Perfect. Cool. Dan.
Hello.
Let's tell us a little bit about you and your history.
Okay. Well, I guess I was in maybe a slightly different position than a few brewery sort of setups in a way, I guess, in that I was grew up around breweries. So my mum actually owns Marble Brewery. My brother is the head brewer there. And, I grew up spending a lot of my childhood helping out at the brewery, the family brewery sort of thing. So grew up, in the brewery, and then went off to university. Actually did a maths degree. My dad was actually encouraging me to, maybe branch out. You don't have to get involved in this sort of thing. There's other options out there, sort of thing. So he was pushing a little bit more for branching out, but end of that, sort of decided, no, I think brewing's the way to go. So came back and continued to work at Marble Brewery for a good little while and start really getting into the nitty gritty of it there, and then got a really good opportunity at a few places to just volunteer a few more of my time, basically. So got the opportunity to go to Leeds Brewery, spent a couple of weeks there, which was really, really interesting. It was the first time I experienced sort of shift brewing, and brewing sort of like the same beer, like 90% of was 90 odd percent of their production, one beer, and they would brew it like twice every day. So still not mass scales, but it was a lot different to what I've experienced so far. So that was good. And then the flip side of that, I got experience at Burning Sky down south. So went and helped out there for sort of 3 weeks. It was one December. And that was really good to go meet, go and learn a lot from Mark and the guys there. That was really good fun, actually. I had a lot of time for those guys. Really, really good. And then I also helped cover at Magic Rock for a couple of weeks. They had someone off for a couple of weeks and they needed someone in, so spent a couple of weeks there. And then I was kind of fortunate. After each of these phases, I kind of got like another offer of like, if you want a job, there's a job there for you, sort of thing. So ended up accepting the job at Magic Rock. Now this was a good few years back now, and this was when they were at their old site. So it was behind the Rock Shop, which sort of lent its self to the naming of Magic Rock, sort of thing. And so worked there, and that was really interesting because it was over the period where they expanded to a new site. So it was still pre-buyout, but was when they decided to expand initially and got a new site. So that was really interesting to see the processes involved in doing that and setting up a whole new brewery at a new site. And basically,
not to interrupt you then, but was it in this time before they get bought, or was it during this time when they were already sold?
No, so they were sold a few years after I left.
Oh, okay.
So this was all pre them being sold. So
go ahead.
Yeah, so they it was dead interesting. I think part of that, being involved in the whole experience of moving a brewery and like getting a brand new equipment and everything installed, getting the whole setup done, sort of encouraged me a bit to be like, I'd love to do that for myself. And I could sort of see how bits of it, and got a lot of really good handy experience there, and essentially just thought I'd love to give this a go myself. And then fortunate, about another year later, it was a possibility, and then we ended up setting up the brewery here, basically at this site. And so that's a little bit of a history of me, and then there's not just myself involved. There's Matt as well, the head brewer, who comes up with the majority of the recipes now, since I've taken him on board. And he's he comes up with stuff that sometimes is there's been occasion where I've said to myself that beer's never going to work,
and then the completely opposite is happening, huh?
Yeah, and then it is like one of the ones we're going to have tonight. Actually, I could probably talk about it a bit later while we're trying. But yeah, I was just like, no one's ever going to like that. And then then I did. So that was good. So yeah, so we've got Matt, who's great at what he does. We've got Tina, who's our design extraordinaire, should we say? She does all the artwork for us, so all the can artwork, anything wise she does for us. And she also covers our social media stuff as well. So, cool. If anyone's asking us questions on any of the bits, I have to admit I'm rubbish at all that. So that's why she's to manage all of that. So that might be why you don't always get a response straight away. Is probably because she's drawing something at that moment. Okay. And then she'll deal with questions and whatnot when she gets a chance, I think.
How big then is the total team then of your brewery?
Total team. So there's myself and Simon. There's Matt. There's Tina. We've got Christine and Emma who do our online shop. So they look after the online shop side of things. So they'll have the orders coming in and package them up, get them sent out. And they also look after, when they get chance, they get help with the accounts as well and stuff. So they'll help us input some data for the accounts and all that sort of stuff. Keep that ticking.
It's important. They are important. Yeah. They look after their accounts, then they are really important.
Yeah. No, we'll just fit that in between odd bits. But yeah, so we have them who both so great to have people who are happy to jump on things. So they've only recently taken over the responsibilities of the online shop in a way, because with the COVID situation, that the online shop just went absolutely bananas. So it's been every hand to the pump sort of thing. So they were happy to come from the account side and help with the online shop and stuff. So that's been really good. And then, yeah, so and that's basically it from the people who work in, solely towards the brewery, as it were. So yeah, so we're tiny, I don't know the people or it's one of them where everything is relative. So to me, in the places I've worked and whatnot, we're still tiny. And that's kind of what is what I like about it anyway.
That's cool.
And
before we open the first beer then, one more question. How old are you?
Oh, how old am I?
You're not a girl, so I can ask you, so.
I just recently turned 28. Yeah, 28 now. Yeah.
So. Well, a big experience, It's quite, you saw a lot, you did a lot, and then you started 3 years ago with your own brewery.
Yeah. So I think I started about 4 years ago. There was about a year where I left Magic Rock, and I'd got the site. I was designing the kit. I was installing it all. Again, I was a bit strapped for cash, so I had to try and dig out the drains. There's someone else actually I should have mentioned. There's Mike, who's our maintenance manager or odd jobs man. His maintenance manager is his good sort of official title, I suppose. Okay. Cool. But me and him, we cut out the drains, we hired all the big equipment, and stuff like that. So we did a lot of it ourselves.
But now we will have this conversation a little bit later. Now we go to the first beer, because then we're gonna talk about the kit, the brew kit, and all this installation stuff.
Okay.
Because the first beer is the lightest one, and so we really can enjoy it, and we can get a deeper conversation. So, Curious Greek. So, Simon.
Yes, sir.
Now it's again your part. This artwork is phenomenal, Tina, she's magic. It seems to be that she is magic because she makes all this artwork, but how she came on the ideas, is it that Dan or Matthew is telling the recipe or what they want to brew, and then Tina is making the artwork, or is it the other way around, that Tina says, okay, I have an idea of a label, or how does this work and where the ideas come from?
So, what I would say first and foremost is that Daniel is very, very fond of the outdoors, and Tina is too. They both love going walks. They both love climbing mountains. They both actually like climbing steep hills and stuff like that. They're crazy. So the brew is always going to be named something like that. It was always going to be regarding going places where people have never been before, or very few people have been before. In terms of this particular artwork, there is a theme. If you look carefully, there's a theme between certain styles of beer. You'll see that the artwork is all quite the same, just maybe a little bit more developed. So with all the Creek cans, I don't know if your customers know, this is the original Curious Creek, but we've also done Captivating Creek and Colossal Creek, and it's very similar artwork. Of course, it gets bigger every time. But Tina, yeah, she's like you say, Marcus, she's very much magic. She conjures these ideas up herself. I don't think Dan will correct me. I think I'm right in saying that Dan and Matt will send her the style of beer that it's going to be, and then she kind of has full reign of taking over that and deciding what it's going to look like on the can, maybe even what it's called to some extent. And she's so creative, is Tina. It's an absolute privilege to work with her, because I'm not sure that many other breweries are as good as this in this regard. And considering when you pair it with how nice the beer is too, I think it's phenomenal what she does.
Okay, cool. So now is the time. Then we have to open the first beer. Let's see how it looks like. I get my glassware, right?
Nice.
Thanks to Simon. So I'm prepared as well.
Oh, good stuff.
We're not supposed to see that, Dan.
What? Oh, is that secret? Have I gone too early? Have I overshot it?
I sent you that secretly, Marcus.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, where's he got that glass from, Simon?
I bought it online, on Amazon. No, so then, what we have in the glass now?
So this, Curious Creek is our. It was the first, the first Berliner Weiss we did, I think, and we've done it a few times now, which is kind of rare for a lot of our beers. We don't necessarily revisit every beer. I'm not sure what we're up to now, whether we're up to about 150 odd, maybe more beers. I could be wrong. I've not checked. I should check my figures really. And that's only in a few years sort of thing. So we don't always repeat beers basically, but this is one of the ones where we've enjoyed it basically, and it's when you enjoy it and you get nice feedback from customers, friends, family. It sort of then all plays on your mind, and you think, oh, you know what, we should really rebrew that, and you get an urge to rebrew it, and you want to drink it again basically. So then we'll rebrew it, and this one beers we've probably rebrewed there, I would say, in the top beers that we've rebrewed. And we've also done a couple iterations on it. We've done a double version and a triple version where we've jumped the ABV up and also the amount of fruit. So this already gets quite a hefty amount of fruit for its ABV, and sadly for its, we try not to worry about price ranges and stuff when we're designing beers, but it's something you got to have in the back of your mind a little bit is, but it's definitely, I would say, up and probably a bit beyond the amount of fruit you would normally put in something that's this sort of ABV and that sort of price range. But it's what we, it was the first one we wanted to really push the boat out, and happy we did.
You're talking about the amount of fruits you're putting into the beers. Can you give us an idea? What amount roughly? It shouldn't be the exact number, but only to give us an idea.
Well, I think, trying to remember off the top of my head now. Our batch sizes, we get roughly around it. It varies on every batch. They can vary quite a lot depending on what we put in and how we use them. So we will vary it quite a bit. However, we sorry, I was just getting a call from Matt. I will have to nip out to help him out in a second.
Okay.
But yeah, there was. Sorry, I've totally forgotten your question. I've just got a call from Matt, so best go nip out. I'm sorry.
Let's go, because the reason is that those guys are brewing and then must go.
Yeah, he's basically adding. Yeah.
Some issues.
Sorry.
Brewing a barley wine tonight, so yeah, it's cool. That's hands-on, that's what. So, Simon.
Yes.
Maybe you are not the right person to talk about the technical things.
I know a few things, though. I know a few things, Marcus.
Okay, then it's okay. Maybe you know how many kilograms of fruit puree? No.
Yeah, not necessarily for this beer, but I am familiar with how much they put in a lot of the beers, and it can range from anywhere between...
We're talking now about this beer. Don't tell any secrets before we go to the other beers. But my next question is, cans. Most of us are already, the whole craft beer scene knows that cans are the best packaging for, especially for beer. But when you look, out to the beers you guys are doing, and when you then look how high the ABVs are, and then it's only available in 440 ml cans. Why? Because often, it's getting expensive then, and you don't know what you can get, and then it's a really big format. But why you decided to go in this format of cans?
It's a great question, Marcus, and it's one question it was one of the first questions that I actually asked Dan when he started canning the beers, because he would give us these beers, and I would take them home, and I would have to share them with my wife. That's how strong they are, and she would never be able to finish one of these beers. And we've got 5 to get through tonight. And it's going to take a lot of willpower, shall we say? But I think it's that everyone has different opinions on the size of the cans. We have seen cans at 330 ml in this country. We've seen them even bigger, and we know Marble do 500 ml cans, for instance. But 440 ml seems to be the can that a lot of breweries have kind of fallen back to. We have dabbled a little bit, haven't we, Dan, with 250 ml cans? These were little baby cans, and they went very well, but very, very hard to find, to be fair. But in general, we like the idea that these beers are big and bold, but we also like the sharing aspect of them too. So, like I say, me and my wife share them. I know Dan shares them with his friends and amongst people. And yes, we know that it means, because they're so strong, it means they can be quite expensive. But we've never seemed to have a problem with that. I think people quite embrace that idea that beer is for sharing. It's kind of this group mentality, this enjoyment. It's not in England in particular, Marcus. People are very focused on drinking enough beer to get drunk. It's not about the taste, and we don't really particularly want that. So they won't be able to do that with this beer. They'll be able to drink it however they want, but they won't last long. So yeah, we encourage sharing. With the Curious Creek, it's not 3.2%. More than easy. That 440 ml is perfect. I know that your question is valid though, because when you get to the other beers, these people will soon see just how strong we get.
That's true. But yeah. But normally, when you have a brewery or you own a brewery, you always want to create volume, Is there kind of a beer, which you say, okay, this beer drives us, this beer generates volume for us? Is there any beer out of these 150s which you say, that's the beer? If you are a really fan of Wander Beyond, you're out of Manchester, you're living there, you support local, and you want always one beer from this brewery in your fridge. Is there a beer you say that's the beer to go?
Sorry, should I take that one or?
Yeah, go for it, Dan. I think I just for a name, but I think you may have a better answer than I do.
Yeah. Well, no, I'd be leaning towards. There's not one beer or from us. I think we we produce within certain styles. We always seem to come back to. So I know for myself, my favorite style is Imperial Stout. So I'm always pushing that we brew another Imperial Stout, so it's always what we're going to brew. It's most likely going to be an Imperial Stout if I can have my way. So, but then we also do the sours, and then we do the milkshake IPAs is another big thing. So I think that although we might not have the one beer that people might not, always stock at home sort of thing, we might have, well, I can say we do have, because you can tell from the online shop orders that we have people who will buy every single stout that we make, or they'll buy every single milkshake bit, that we produce, or you get people ordering just 12 cans of the sours that we do. So I think that, and then we have the people who love to get a mixture as well. But I have found that I'm saying basically that we might not have that one beer, but people find if one of our styles, they know what they're going to get from the next one, even if it's not going to be the same as the last they've had. They know the quality is going to be there. The big punchy flavors of what we say is on there is going to be there. Is hopefully how people see it. Is what I'd lean towards.
Cool. So back to this beer then. It's a kettle sour, I guess, huh? It's kettle sour basement.
Yeah. So it's it's just kettle sour. So quite a wheat heavy, obviously, grist, and then just kettle sour, and then the fruit obviously adds a bit of its tartness as well. After sort of towards the end of fermentation, we'll add the fruit, so it'll ferment out a bit, but it also adds its own sort of natural tartness from the sour cherries and the raspberries. Together, I think Matt's aim with this, because this is again one of Matt's creations, was to have something that was still nice and tart and refreshing, but also like punchy and strong in its flavors, but also that you could drink it, still have a drinkability. So you could have a couple of pints on a nice sunny day, perhaps, or so.
Drinkability is really high, and I really I can see me or myself, sitting in a sunny day next year and having some of these cans easily, because ABV-wise, fruit-wise, balanced, it's a really, really good example of a Berliner Weiss, of a fruited Berliner Weiss.
Well, what I would say, Marcus, is that 3 years ago when this was first brewed, was it 3 years time, maybe a little bit less? I was managing the craft beer bar at the time, and the only Berliner Weiss I'd ever really experienced before this one that I thought was amazing was when I went to Berlin. Me and my wife went there on our honeymoon. We had the classic low sliding glass with the little baby's face on it, and then you could have red grape or green grape, and that was pretty much it. And then all of a sudden in the UK, we had this burst of Berliner Weisses across the scene. Everybody thought it was the great next big style, and we never really found one that had that tartness, that punch. Mm-hmm. And until I tried this one, and I thought, considering it was one of their first ever brews, one of the first ever ones, I thought it was amazing. Dan might not have mentioned it, but prior to being Wander Beyond, we had the brewery open for maybe 6 months, and he was just trying different recipes, little bits and bobs, anything he could think of. But then when Matt came on board, and they had this real proper team, and they had the artwork and the ethos, and then you had a very good consensus of what they wanted to do. One of their first beers was Curious Creek, and I think, as you say, I think it's a brilliant Berliner Weiss for a brewery that's so young. I mean, I'm not just saying that as someone who works here, because at the time I didn't work here. I thought it was a fantastic beer.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I really agree.
And one of the few we can chug.
That's true. That's true. And do you know, maybe Simon, which was the first beer which was ever canned and sold. Do you know this or not?
I don't know which one was canned first. I would imagine that the first beer they ever made was called Peak Pale Ale.
Okay.
Because before, I mean, we focus predominantly on keg and can now, mostly cans, and anything left goes into keg. But early in the day, we used to put beers into cask as well. And Peak at 3.8% session pale, I think, was one of the first ones that Dan ever did, and that was quite popular. So they kind of really focused in their decision making on going for these big, bold, punchy flavors. The first cans you've caught, that is a brilliant question, Marcus. And I'll be surprised to know which one it is. But because when we first started, as many small breweries, you don't always have your own canning machine.
Yeah.
We have one now, but we didn't at first. So you're hiring a company to bring their canning machine in. And I think even last time me and you had the tasting session and we were talking about it, how much of a nightmare they can be, how inconsistent, how many problems you can have. Off the top of my head, it might have been a raspberry beer itself. It might have been a raspberry ghost. It might have been or
maybe it was an imperial stout because it's one of Dan's favorite styles. That can also be.
It would not surprise me whatsoever. I think if you're going to guess what we're bringing out next week, Marcus, you would always say imperial style. You've got to rein Dan in, bring him back in a little bit sometimes because he's obsessed with them. Okay. But yeah. I think he released 3 at once, if I'm right in saying so. I could be wrong about that. So we'll have Paddle. I think it was called Paddle, but I may be wrong. We'll be interested to see what he says when he comes back.
Yeah. It was called Paddock?
Paddle, as if you're on a boat.
Paddle.
I think so. A raspberry goes, I think, but I could be wrong. If I remember that well, if I'm correct with that, I'll be very proud.
And he should give you a bonus.
Extra bonus. He should give me a bonus anyway. How hard I worked this week, Marcus. Honestly, there's no Christmas for Simon. No Christmas at all. He's a slave driver.
Really? Oh. And now we are talking over you. It's better you go out again because.
Oh, sorry. I'll leave you to it.
No, it's fine.
Is he talking also?
What was the first ever canned beer you did? And Simon came out with a name and a style. And the question is, if he's right, maybe you can bring us some light into this game. What was the first ever canned beer and what was the name?
Okay, well, I'm going to give myself a little get-out clause in that we actually released 4 cans. So, because we canned 4, we released all 4 on the same day.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, I feel like I've only got a 1 in 4 chance.
No. Go.
Come on.
So, I mean, the big one, there was one my favourite, then there was the big one which went down a treat, and there was 2 that weren't so good. I reckon maybe, I don't know, my gut is, but I feel like I might be wrong. Maybe Elysium? No? Okay, now I'm going to say the 4. There was Elysium. There was Quiet After the Storm. There was Paddle.
Ding!
Yeah, which I should have known from the beer we're drinking. It was similar. It was a ghost, Linoviced, but a similar sort of idea. And then the last one was Graviton, which, as far as beers go, it wasn't anything special. But the cool thing about it was the artwork that Tina drew. It was a climb in Fontainebleau, which is a forest in France.
Okay.
It's a famous sort of bouldering location.
Okay.
There might be some climbing fans out there. I don't know.
Who knows? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Are there some climbing fans out there in the beer lovers world in Austria?
I don't know.
Come out and say yes. But it was good, so then it means now that Simon gets a 25% extra bonus because he picked out one of these 4, so it's 25%.
A reduction was that? A reduction for not having Elysium?
Not just for Christmas either, Daniel. That's a permanent bonus, that. Thank you.
Oh, it's fun. That's good. Okay. I would say we go to the next beer.
Okay.
Here we go.
Next one. How is it called? How is it spelled? What's the name?
A very good question. So Tina does the majority of the naming. Yeah. So it's Fagario is how I would pronounce it. And she explained better the meaning behind it, but I have a feeling it's the Fagario has something to do with strawberries. It might be like maybe a Latin-based word for strawberry or something like that. And then Fagario, and then the pod bit relates back to Octopod, which was one of our first big 12% fruited milkshake IPAs, which was called Octopod.
Okay.
And so the Fagario pod is sort of like, we've changed it up and we've put strawberries into this. So I think that was roughly the basis behind that anyway.
Okay.
So I can explain that a bit better, Marcus.
I'm glad someone can.
Don't worry about that. So one of our most iconic beers is Octopod. It's our milkshake IPA, and they all tend to do. It's an imperial, of course, and they all tend to derive from Elysium's recipe, which is the initial imperial milkshake IPA. And for Octopod was done with mango and passion fruit. Is that right now?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and it took off. It absolutely took off, Marcus. It was crazy. So we did a new version called Fragaria Pod. We replaced the passion fruit with strawberry because Fragaria means strawberry.
Okay.
So that's where the name comes from. A little bit better, and almost got it right, but not quite. But yeah, Octopod is kind of like it sets the benchmark for a lot of beers for people for Wander Beyond. A lot of our beers are put up on that pedestal. It was so impressive. I know Dan had some fun canning that one in the first instance because it was so viscous. Fragaria Pod is a much more polished product. One of my favourite recent beers.
Okay, then let's open it. Guys, just one question. Do you get also this signal in the beer? Is it in the brewery? This beep, beep, beep? Is it?
Yeah, sorry, can you pick that up?
Something?
Can you pick that up on my... It's a pump.
Okay. Because we can hear it. Yeah.
Sorry about that. I'll try and shut the door.
It's okay.
Yeah, are you sure? Sorry, I meant to mention.
You're sitting at the brewery. The brewery is working. The brewery is brewing. So that's something. Yeah.
Yes. So, sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
Don't let him off so easy, Marcus. Tell him.
Okay, so then please stop the pump. Stop brewing. Forget
That's
the
it.
beer.
Call it off.
No. Oh, okay. Okay. Cool.
Sound effects here. Try and get that on the screen as I pour it. There you go.
Oh, I'm way behind. Oh, wait, no, in front.
In front.
Well, that could be on social media. That's a perfect pour, that. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. There you go. Mm.
So, then what we have in the glass now?
Well, Simon's put it pretty well. The Fagaria Pod with the mangoes, strawberries. It's quite viscous still. Like I think the mango adds quite a lot to that, and obviously it's brewed with a lot of oats there, and a lot of wheat. So there's still quite high proteiny mash sort of thing. And then there's also the lactose, which adds to that sort of viscosity. But then we've been talking a lot about Octopod. Compared to Octopod, I think the strawberry does drop it a little bit, but it's still quite a viscous type of beer, I suppose. And then you've got the big fruit numbers and Like I'm sure you taste all these things yourself.
Really
I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't normally like trying to talk about what I don't know what when people are drinking a beer, you end up putting a lot of things. I prefer them to sort of drink it, taste it for themselves, and have an idea for what it is.
I understand what you mean, because when you came out with some words, it's mango and it's strawberry and it's peach, and then the people say, okay, yeah, I can taste that, and I can smell that. But my question is, why this milkshake IPA you decided to brew with a beer of 12.0 degree alcohol? Why? Why?
Why not?
Fair question, fair question. Fair answer, not fair question. Fair answer. But why you don't do something like, I don't know, 6 to 7, which can generate you then a little bit of a volume, because it's easier to drink. People can drink 2 or 3 in a row.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think maybe partly goes back to myself, and again, a lot of Matt's favorite style beers are the big, strong beers. So, the big imperial stouts, the big barley wines. And it just adds, for me, being that top end, having a bit of that booziness, even if it's kind of hidden a bit, it does add something for me anyway. That's on a personal note anyway. Like I'd always enjoy an imperial stout, probably
I completely
a bit more than a normal stout.
Understand, what you want to show to the people, but the point is it's really drinkable, but it's really dangerous, and that's the point, That's why I'm asking you, make it a little bit easier, because then it's okay. It's a really good beer.
Yeah. No, and I think that's something that Matt's been very good at doing is getting the balance right. So being able to do these big, strong beers, but still have a drinkability about them. So not trying to encourage people to drink pints and pints and pints of it, but to be able to enjoy drinking it still. It's not like a task, or you're not put off by the ABV. You sort of enjoy it. It's balanced. It's part of it. But it doesn't take away from the drinkability of it in a way. I don't know if that's the best way of explaining it.
As a bar manager, previous bar manager, me and Dan used to have these conversations quite frequently, Marcus. I would look to him to offer me some beers that people could drink a lot of, who would go back and back for more. And then when you move over to the brewery side and you see just how many people are all over social media, and obviously with the online shop sales just going up and up and up, you just see how dedicated they are to the niche beers that they produce. And a lot of that is to do with the ABV. You can kind of understand the mindset a little bit more, just of why they've gone that way. And I'm not quite sure why that is, and let's roll with it. I think maybe it is the fact that you can just pack more flavor into a stronger beer. Maybe it's that simple.
Yeah, that can be a reason, that, of course, that can be a reason. That's a fair answer as well. But yeah, anyway, how is the split in domestic in the UK, between on-trade and off-trade? Before Corona hit us, so only tell us, what is the split between on-trade and off-trade, Simon? That's maybe a question for you.
Well, I think it's very sociable. In UK, in general, people like to be in a pub, in a bar, Marcus. They always have them traditionally. It's definitely the route to market in general is to go to the pub. Things have changed, obviously, recently. And I think, in general, things were changing anyway. The UK is slowly becoming a bit more continental with the way they drink. It's more of an enjoyment side of things now, rather than just a means to be inebriated or drunk. We are quite a Neanderthal nation, Marcus, in that respect. So there was a slow migration, maybe, towards on-trade rather than off-trade. But in general, I think people still can't wait to get back into the pubs and have that dispense. I personally, I think that having a beer on draft, superior to having a beer in a can and in a fridge at home. That's just my personal opinion. But
whereas I lean maybe the other way.
That's because you're antisocial, Dan. You like to sit at home on your own. No, I'm just teasing. There is, like, even if I'm in a bar, I may still go to the fridge and get a can or a bottle. I think it's that social aspect that people miss. I think that's exactly what we're going to need across the world, maybe. I think the UK probably is more antisocial than other European countries. So I imagine it's even worse elsewhere. But yeah, I definitely think that there's still the room for events. There's still I think that lifestyle still exists.
Okay. Yeah. Fair. Yeah. Of course, we miss this because beer is a social thing, and normally you meet friends, you go out, you share beers, as you mentioned before, when you get these bigger sizes, and then, But the question is when it will be allowed again, and when will people are willing to go out again, and sweating shoulder on shoulder, when the next open air festivals will be, or I don't know, the next beer festival. So that's kind of a thing, which makes me a little bit scared about the future, if we really get to the old or newer normal soon, that's kind of a thing,
Yeah,
but we will see, we have to deal now with it. But the point is, especially in the UK, I had a conversation today in the afternoon, that gyms are open in the UK, swimming pools are open, and all that kind of stuff, stores are open, shops are open, restaurants and bars still closed, make it sense? No at all, because people, it's, in my opinion, when you go to a restaurant with your family or your friends and having dinner or lunch, what can happen, because you're sitting next to your colleague or your family, you're sitting with those people and then you go to the gym, sweating, and there everything is happening, or then you go for swimming. So it's kind of
it's all perception, Marcus. I don't envy the job that the people who make the rules have, because it's not easy right now. It is not easy what they have to decide. So you can give them a little bit of a pass, but yeah, if you think about it pragmatically, there's no difference between sitting in a restaurant with your family, enjoying food and drink, and keeping the economy rolling, and the people who sell beer in a job, than there is of anything else. I mean, when you go to a supermarket to do your weekly shopping, there is no way that is more safe than having your own restaurant. It's simply not the case.
I agree.
Yeah, and there's still people, I think, at the likes of like Zebra and people who are trying to say, look, where is the evidence behind this decision? Where are the facts? What's the evidence that has based this decision? And they've still not been given any sort of evidence that the pubs actually lead to an increase in the rate or anything like that. So there are questionable things, but what are we gonna do?
What are we gonna do?
Yes, nothing. Wait,
right.
And hope and pray. That's the only thing what we can do,
But it's good. It's really good to be invited to these sorts of things for this.
Yes.
This is, the best of the situation type of thing.
The new world, Marcus.
No, that couldn't be the new world, because
no, we don't want it to come up.
We have to sit together at a table, do it proper tasting together, but of course,
we have to fly.
The only thing we can do at the moment, and at least it's something we do, to keep our friends happy, to keep customers happy, to explain, and it's a good opportunity,
Yeah, and we're both in woods, Marcus, me and you. So we're
not
in the same.
I'm in the sunny forest, in Vienna. No, it's cold, it's foggy, it's December. So it is, and it should be in this period of the year.
Yeah.
So back to the beer. Is there something you recommend food-wise? Is there something you see that you can pair with, I don't know, Frago Fagotipa?
It's hard. I'll give you that. Cheese? What are we saying?
Cheese always a good choice.
Cheese is always a good choice when it comes to imperial stouts and that kind of thing. Dark chocolate also, it's good.
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't know. I have to admit, I'm not the biggest of foodies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether it was just what I've been craving, but when you said it, I was my initial response was kind of like something sort of Chinesey. This is not based on anything other than me just being like, ooh, what would I like to eat right now with this? And I was like, ooh, something like chow mein or like, I don't know, or char siu pork, maybe.
I'm not sure. What we used to do, Marcus, and it's not really food, is it? But ice cream in the top of a glass, a big scoop of vanilla ice cream on the top of that, to go with your lactose, to go with the vanilla that's in there, and
what kind of ice cream?
Oh, vanilla. Has to be vanilla.
Vanilla.
Yeah, very much so. Oh, strawberry might work as well, though. Strawberry, that'd be pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
Could be the dealer's choice. You know, you could try a few out.
Mm-hmm. No, but I can also see something like a curry, something like.
I could get on board.
Curry, that can work as well,
I don't need a beer to have a curry. I will have a curry with whatever drink you give me.
There's a girl saying, this is food, so we don't have to talk about food pairing because this beer is food. Yeah, maybe you are right, Sonja. That's Leave it alone and maybe add vanilla ice, and then that's it. You don't even need more than this. That's. Yeah.
Two of your 5 a day in it.
What?
In the UK, I don't know if it's the same in Austria, Marcus, but in the United Kingdom, we are recommended to have 5 a day, and they say that about fruits and vegetables.
Okay, and that's
so in this beer.
Compares, there's everything. You only need one beer.
And your strawberry, that's 2 done already. Easy.
Yeah. And now I'm sure we shouldn't advocate it as a health drink.
Yeah. At least it contains fruits, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of the only ways I get my vitamins, to be honest.
Okay.
Then
how big is the brewery? How big is the brew kit?
So probably packaged out of one brew, we'll maybe get, like I said, probably around 20 hectolitres a brew. And we're, at the minute anyway, we're just doing one brew a week. So we're doing about 1,000, is that right? About 1,000 hectolitres a year, roughly. So I imagine that we're absolutely tiny to compare. It depends on everyone's relatives. Just to a drinker, 1,000 hectolitres, you're like, wow, that's so much beer. I could never drink that much beer. Which, obviously. But if you say it to brewers and to people who work in much bigger establishments, it is tiny. Something I always grew up with was, and again, this probably sound very big-headed and whatnot, but is quality over quantity, and that's something that I've always wanted to really focus on. So we can really focus in on the product, and even though we're doing so many different products, we're giving all those products our utmost attention. We're giving them the amount of time they need in the time. So there's breweries out there who would have similar setup to us and would be producing 4 or 5, maybe 6 times the volume, even maybe 7.5 times the volume. Even here in Manchester. But this is where we like to give the beer the extra, couple weeks in time needs it, or we're not rushing any stage of it, which I think pays dividends, hopefully, in the end, and the way people enjoy it, hopefully.
And then do you also have then your own lab, or who is analyzing the beers for you? You have your own lab, or is there something?
Yeah, a mixture. So we have our own lab. So we have a lot of different bits of equipment and stuff. One of our prized piece of equipment is our Anton Parr machine for doing the carbonation and the DO tests. It's very is a very useful piece of equipment for us. So we do a lot of on-site stuff. Anything we don't have set equipment for, we will have to then send out. So for stuff like we've done a few gluten-free. So we do them sporadically. So we don't have the equipment in-house to test it, for one or two beers. So we have to then send those samples out to get tested, certificated, the beers that we're picking in, so that we can ensure that they are gluten-free. So it's a balance, basically.
But that's really important, as you mentioned, it's you can only stay out, and go your own way, with quality, labeling, of course, packaging, and again, quality, because there's so many breweries, especially in the UKs, and the competition is so high, and you have to find your own niche, that's how we want our beers, that's the way we want it, and so get focused on it, and it makes sense. What did your mother think about the way you brew beer and how they taste and how different they are compared to Marble Brewery?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I think Marble have done a really good job. Well, obviously, I'm going to be a little bit biased here, but I grew up with them, and I think they were a massive inspiration with some of the beers like Decadence and stuff that they were bringing out. Really, they were my favorite beers growing up. These big, dark, strong beers, and I think that's led me towards this path. And Marble, were renowned for doing big, strong beers like 20 years ago. But strong back then was maybe, especially in the UK here, you're talking 6% was considered a very strong beer, which Marble sort of pushed the envelope on in those days. So I think that they were a bit of an inspiration in that way, that I grew up drinking some 8-9% beers from them when no one else was producing, sort of thing. And that may have led towards where we are now. And it's just strong, just keeps moving up each time, sort of thing.
Cool.
I do want to clarify that when he says he was brought up drinking strong beers, he means from a drinking age.
Okay.
Yes, of course.
He wasn't in nappies drinking Imperial Stout. That's not a thing. That's not true.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I would say we go to the next one.
Oh, yeah.
Imperial chocolate and strawberry ice cream black IPA. Deep Bloom.
There you go, guys.
Oh, do we do a...
Yeah. Do it.
Oh, it's okay. You can pour your beer then. It's okay. We have 2 cans now. A little bit again about the artwork.
So this is pretty cool. Much like Octopod, Deep Bloom is a fan favourite. And Milkshake and a black ice cream IPA, all the flavours in there. A school of jellyfish, or a group of jellyfish, is called a bloom, hence the name. And obviously with 3 different flavours in there, vanilla, chocolate and strawberry, decided to create the little jellyfish as, well, is it blobs or balls? I'm not sure. Balls of ice cream, shall we call them? Scoops of ice cream. And of course with the hop men in there, it's kind of a theme running through all the cans, particularly the milkshake and black IPAs, that it's all underwater. So yeah, they chose jellyfish to be them, and again, like Octopod, very much one of the popular beers. How many times have we brewed this now, Dan? Is it 2 or 3 times we've done this one?
Yeah, it's been a few times. This is one of the ones we've rebrewed. Maybe on the 2 or 3. I'd go with.
Yeah, and as the man who sells most of this beer, it doesn't last long. This is very much one of the most popular ones we do.
Okay, then we are looking forward to taste it.
And back at the start of the conversation, I mentioned Matt coming and suggesting recipes. Now, this was one of the ones he came up to me and he said, Dan, the Elysium, the Milkshake IPA Elysium, that's gone quite well. I've got an idea for the next version. And then he suggested this to me. And it was like, right, I want to do a black IPA version, but I want to do it similar to a Neapolitan ice cream idea with strawberries, cacao nibs, vanilla, lactose sort of thing. And I was listening to him and I was like, I'm going to have to let him down here. And I just said to him, Matt,
no,
that is never going to work.
But I completely understand it, because if one of our brewers coming to me and tell me, okay, Marcus, we're going to brew that kind of beer, and that was also something I discussed with Simon, when we had the first tasting, why a black IPA, why? Why we decided to make the basement of this product is a black IPA, but it worked out quite well, and so he was right. But before we talk about this beer, what's the background of Matthew? So what he did before?
So Matt, so Matt had a good few years experience in working in breweries, and he in Yorkshire mainly, and then he went and studied at Heriot Watt, got his master's in brewing distilling, and then he was starting to look at setting up his own sort of gypsy brewery. I don't know if you can say that actually now. Is that not PC? What's the PC? Cuckoo.
Brewery.
That's it. Yeah, he was looking to set up his own thing where he wouldn't necessarily need a kit or whatnot, but he could do his own recipes on a bigger scale and stuff. And I'd met Matt a few times. We'd had a good few beers together, and it was, we both aired on enjoying the same sort of styles. So the big imperial stouts, the barley wines. But again, Matt's actual first love in beer is the Belgium stuff. So like he's spent the past, I think this will be the first year in something like 10 or more years he's not been at Cantillon for his birthday. So apart from that, me and him are very similar beer tastes anyway, with the big strong beers, and I was struggling on my own, to be honest, with having to try and run the brewery, do the deliveries, the sales, the brewing, all that. And I was like, right, I need to bring someone in, and Matt seemed the right guy at the right time, and he's been really good ever since, to be honest. And like you can probably hear the pump going in the background again, but he's hard at work. He keeps going. He's good, and he comes up with stuff like this that drinking and.
But then, do you think? In my opinion, it's really hard, when you get it for a blind tasting. Can you pick out, do you think you can still pick out that the basement is a black IPA?
Well, this is the tricky bit. This might be me trying to make up for it a little bit. It's not just a black IPA in the same way, like a milkshake IPA isn't just an IPA. Yeah. But you've got to bear in mind that this is called a black, an imperial black ice cream IPA.
Mm-hmm. So it's a new style.
Like
so it's not written in any guidelines. It's kind of a new style.
That's my little get out of jail clause, I suppose, on it.
Okay.
It's probably got a bit more of that lactosey, that viscosity that would be more related to an imperial stout, a milk stout you would expect it in.
Or something like a Baltic porter could also work,
Yeah, especially with some of those roastier chocolate flavors of the cacao nibs and stuff that are there because of the Neapolitan ice cream.
Yeah.
I would argue there's still a subtle hint of those Eldorado hops in this.
Yeah.
It's still there, and that would define it as a black IPA as opposed to maybe the stout.
Yeah. And it does get a healthy dose of, we give it a fairly decent dry hop, because we obviously don't want the hops to overpower the strawberries and the vanilla and stuff. So we can't go overboard to push it.
No, makes completely sense. Because it really, it's not just written on the label, you really can get it, this ice cream, chocolate, strawberries, you can smell it, you can taste it. So it's well done.
Yeah.
Well done. But how is the technical procedure, You brew it, and then when you add the different
ingredients. So I suppose, obviously the normal ingredients are added at the normal bits, the malt and the hop, the kettle hops and the dry hop are all added as it would be for a normal beer sort of thing. Then we've got the lactose is added in the kettle. And what else is there? There's the cacao nibs are added sort of post-fermentation. And then, but the strawberries are added, it's like towards the end of fermentation. So like just at the end, so it's still fermentation, just to make sure we eat up the sugars from the strawberries, so that we don't have exploding cans
because that's no bomb.
Yeah, exactly. So we need to avoid that, but we want to keep as much of that strawberry, out of the strawberry. So the strawberries are in towards the end of fermentation, but the cacao nibs are sort of just after the strawberries, and same with the vanilla. And I think that's most of the sort of what would be slightly different ingredients to your normal beer, I suppose.
What I like about this beer is very similar to what I like about Octopod, is that when, for instance, me and Marcus first drank this beer, it gives you that thing like, what is this? I've never had this kind of beer before. And that is something I think that is important. I think it's good for us. I think it's good for beer in general, different styles. I don't think there's a beer like this.
That's true. Maybe you can find something similar at the range of Omnipolo, but you're kind of that kind of thing, So, and the point is, easily, you put this can on the table and you can start a conversation. It will be a discussion on the table happening immediately, when you pour this beer. Even don't tell anyone on the table that will be in black IPA, strawberry with vanilla. You can pick out all the flavors and the ingredients, but then it will start. But now we have some questions. Who and why you had to sticker the labels? And who did this work? Because every single can is stickered. You?
Yes.
Well, it was my fault.
Okay.
So the blame, I'll take the blame.
Sure.
So see, with COVID, Tina is working remotely. So she used to work in the brewery, but she's now working from home because she can work from home. She doesn't have to be in the brewery to do inside
Artwork and social media.
So, which is it's a bit of a shame for her because she actually used to work at Magic Rock as well. So she used to be a brewer's assistant there. So she misses, I think, that brewery. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. What was the question?
This is why do we have these labels stuck on the can?
Yeah, so the reason
that was the question. Thanks, Sam.
It's good someone's paying attention. Who mentioned that? Yeah, who mentioned that raise again? So the stickers came because me and Tina have had to we've had to talk, obviously off-site sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And I think basically she asked me what's it contain, and I've told her, and I must have forgotten on me.
Okay.
So then we had to put it on there, obviously, because we actually sent it off for analysis in case any stickers fall off or anything like that, and there was anyone who had a severe wheat allergy or anything. Mm-hmm. And the test came back, obviously, because we put wheat is a raw ingredient, but it gets, through the process of the brewing process and then the fermentation, it's changed massively just through it all. So I don't know how deep to go into all these things. It's always a hard.
No, it's okay.
But anyway, the test came back saying essentially they couldn't pick it up as an ingredient, as it were, sort of thing. Mm. So I'm
to be on the safe side, on the really safe side, you decided to sticker and label it.
Yeah, but just in case.
4,000 cans, Marcus.
How many?
4,000 cans had to be.
Who did this work? You then, together with Tina?
Tina wasn't here. Tina was furious. I did it. Dan did it, to be fair. Dan did it as well.
A small amount.
And of course, our online shop team of Christine and Emma, they did a lot too.
Okay.
But, it was painstaking.
I can imagine this. Respect.
We will not make that mistake again.
I'm pretty sure it will never happen again, because Dan will really pay attention.
No bonus for Dan.
Yeah.
Teresa is asking if it's possible when all this COVID thing is over, and we are allowed to travel again, for example, next summer, is it possible to visit the brewery?
Hopefully. We don't have a tap room in place, so we don't have like a permanent tap room. So you'd have to be a bit lucky with the timing, or catch it on the social media that we're doing an event at the brewery and book in for that sort of thing. Is that we do the odd occasional event at the brewery. So we'll clear space on the brewery floor. We'll bring tables and chairs down. We'll set the bar up, like the mobile bar for events. We'll set that up, and we'll do different events. Sometimes it's like an open weekend, or it might be like a specific. We've done like cake and pairings before, which is really cool. We had like a local baker, who she's amazing. She came in, she drank a few of the stouts with us, and like made these crazy things with we gave her a case of the beer, and she came back with all these crazy like cakes and treats that she'd made with the beers included in it.
Oh, okay, cool.
So we enjoy doing stuff like that, but it's far and few between, unfortunately.
But the question is, if Teresa wrote you up front an email, I will come only and say hello. There's nothing going on in the brewery. Will there be someone who show me around at the brewery, 10-minute tour, and then she can leave? Will this be possible?
No, we have to. It's one of them, because it's a working brewery. It's to know who, and because we're such a small team.
Okay.
Everyone might be just like today, with everything going on. There might be just a lot going on. It's a tricky one. It's a tricky
Marcus,
one. We try to where we can.
Via email, we will strive to accommodate anybody who has come that far. We will do our best to
perfect. So there is
if we have,
there will be an option for you. Yeah.
Give us just ask. Give us a shout.
Okay. Teresa, ich hoffe, das passt. Next girl is asking. That's quite a funny question. Gabriela is asking, Dan, how does it feel that Wander Beyond is higher rated on Untapped than the brewery of your mother?
Oh, great question.
From a girl, Gabriela is asking this. That's a really, really good question.
Well, I have to admit, I'm a bit useless at all the sort of social media side of things, and like Untapped as well. Like I leave all that side to Tina, so I never really paid too much attention to it. I never got into Untapped myself personally, but I know that Matt and Tina both used to do it avidly, on a personal side. I think Matt's got like a bazillion check-ins because he drinks so many amazing beers. So I think he uses it just as a log to make sure he knows what he's had and whatnot. But I think that's a good tool for that sort of thing. And but yeah, I don't know. I think, to be honest, the proof is in the pudding, not necessarily what people say on the internet. So Marble have been doing it, for over 20 years. We've been doing it for 3 years. So I think, who's the real winners? They're still like the port barrel aged decadence from Marble. I had not that long ago, just blew my socks off. And so I'm still very, I wouldn't pay too much attention to the Untapped rating and stuff. Is maybe my point.
Because I personally also do not use Untapped, but the younger generations, they are really into it, and it's a really high rated tool for breweries like yours, because I think that most of your fans, let's say, or the drinkers of Wander Beyond, they're, I don't know, in the age between 25 or 20 and 30, and they are really used to use Untapped. And before 20 years ago, it wasn't existing, Also, the social media world is completely changing. So I would say it's not a really good thing. I understand you personally then, because I also really not use it. But from a business perspective, it can be, really helpful for you as a brand. And Marble will exist 10 more years and 50 more years because they are already on the market 20 years. So they don't really need that kind of tools, And that's also why they are not really high rated, because they don't have maybe the clients which are really into Untapped.
Yeah.
All these younger breweries, I think it's a really good tool.
Yeah, very much so. We're very proud of how well our beers have been received on such good social media sites like Untapped and things like that. But I don't think it does a little disservice to the established breweries who have, certainly ones like Marble, Magic Rocket, who've been there for a long, long time and been there and done that. It is very much a case of, what have you done for me lately? And obviously newer breweries always capture the imagination and the attention. And that's not to say that we're in any way dismissive of Untapped. We think it's fantastic how well we're looking at that. We're very appreciative of everybody's support. But yeah, some of those breweries who've been there and done it before we have, their beers are phenomenal beers.
And the point is, when you look sometimes, there are beers which are really perfect for the styles, some Pils or some Helles, but those generations, between 20, these newer beer drinkers, they even don't have a clue how this beer should taste, and then you can see all the breweries like, I don't know, Weinstefana or Schneider or Agostina or Truma, they get a rating for 2.5 for perfect Hefeweizen or Pils. Yeah, that's unfair because the people, they drink it and vote it. They don't know how it should taste, because they are missing hops or whatever they are missing, but they don't have any clue. So use it if you want, but I think especially for younger breweries, it's a really go-to, to be really good promoted on that social media platforms like Untapped, So, but it was a good question from a girl, So
it was really good.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. Gabriela, well done. Okay, food-wise, again an ice cube, and then it's done, because again,
every flavor of ice cream, every flavor. This is like a dessert in a glass.
Yeah. You can put this in a slushy machine. We had this, huh? In a slushy machine.
Yeah. Put it in a slushy, yeah.
Beer slushy. No, it's really great.
I think it would go well with a nice big fat slice of chocolate cake.
That can be or some, Christmas crackers can also go well,
Yes.
Get me hungry.
No, it's interesting.
I love that beer.
No, it's really.
I can hear Matt around and about, but we won't let him know that anyone liked it.
Okay. But you can bring him in for 1 or 2 minutes, that we get the face of Matthew as well. When he has time, he can join, of course.
Yeah, he might be covered in fruit. So he's been dealing with, I think it's blackberries.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So I think he's covered in head to foot in blackberries, but I'm sure he'll pop in for.
Then he will bring in some color. It's okay.
Yeah. Say hello. Come on.
Okay, guys.
Yes, sir.
Chameleon Passion.
Oh, here we go. Oh, beauty.
Perfect artwork, and it says everything, It's a chameleon.
And it's a passion fruit. Job done.
The passion fruit, that's it, Chameleon Passion, Imperial Passion Fruit Sour.
Now, I learned something interesting about this, Marcus. Not 2 weeks ago. Me, the newbie in the brewery, who doesn't know anything, what the difference is between a sour beer and a Berliner Weisse.
But for us anyway.
For us anyway, yeah, sorry. Our determination is that if you add lactic acid, it becomes a Berliner Weisse.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, if you rely on the ingredients such as passion fruit to give you that sourness, then it just is a sour.
Okay.
This mainly became because we made a very what would you call it? Trying to avoid using the word bland. What would you call it? Like a
base is the word, Dan.
Neutral. So we made a very neutral base. Yeah, I like it. Beer, which was again is Matt's go-to, because Matt's secret passion is the Belgium Sours, basically. Proper lambic beers.
Wild fermented, spontaneous fermented, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he keeps pestering us to get a cool ship and everything, but we just need to get round to doing it at some point. But we're also hoping to get a little bit of a barrel, another separate area, so that we can have like just the sour barrels kicking off on their own in the area, basically. But this is very different from that. This was a very neutral base beer, fermented out, and then added the passion fruit to it. And it had enough, like the passion fruit was just zingy enough that we thought it qualified that sour name in a way.
This is impressive in that for one of our beers, Dan, you can almost see through it.
Yeah, but there's sometimes it is sometimes on our cards to do that. Like for different beers, we will decide if we want it to be like clear in a way, but a lot of the times, especially if it's a big milkshakey thing, we want to keep the haze in there with the hops, with the extra protein for the mouthfeel and that whatnot.
It's definitely a unique beer, and I think that because we relied on the fruit to provide tartness, you get that almost like a very, what's the word? Almost, it's very on point. It's like you get that perfect passion fruit taste rather than it feeling like there's anything else in there. If you understand what I'm saying, it is almost passion fruit juice with alcohol in it.
But it's again, the base beer is a kettle sour.
Yeah, pretty neutral. Again, quite high on the wheat side.
Yeah.
But then the most of the sourness does come from
the passion fruit.
The passion fruit itself. But it also adds, like, with, we're adding 500 kilos of passion fruit, or it might have even been more, I'm not sure. We normally around the 500-600 kilos, and this is for, we're getting out maybe 2,000 litres. So talking, it's quite a high, what's that, 250 grams or so?
Mm-hmm.
A litre.
In that beer. So you're still going to get a little bit of that nice sort of sweetness from the fruit in a way. You get that first.
But then it remains the tartness, the sourness.
Yeah.
That remains. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the few beers where we've kind of almost kept it simple. I don't know if that makes sense to you, Dan, but it's like one thing, we've focused in on it, and you can't argue with it. I think it's, considering it's 11%, it's almost a bit too easy to drink, Marcus. I don't know what you think about that one.
But you also can do it. Sorry, but you also can do it literally a lighter version. Go down with the ABV. No, really, compare it with Curious Creek. Make Chameleon Passion on a 3% level with that amount of fruit.
Maybe in the future, maybe you'll have Chameleon Passion and Captivating Passion and Colossal Passion. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
I'll have to come over, Marcus, and brew it with us.
No, but because I'm pretty sure, if this beer is not super high in ABV wise, then it will be a big seller. Same recipe, a little bit down. What means a little bit? Go down 7 or 8 ABVs, and then it's completely different. No. Yeah, and then you can drink it, in the summer.
You can still drink this in the summer if you want to. Maybe not.
Then you have a perfect break in the sun, and then you get a sunburner and so on, and then it's no. But so this beer in the summer, I don't know. Yeah, maybe a sip.
Sip.
Yeah, but then no.
Yeah.
Well, it's really good, because as Simon told, it's really strict, basement beer, one fruit added, it's on the point. Because that's quite, in my opinion, it's quite more difficult to make beers like this, whereas only one topic, it's base beer and putting the topic, because there's no really space for any off flavors, when it comes to deep bloom, you can always add a little bit more of this, a little bit more of this, and then you're there, But this one, really.
And no room for error.
Yeah, that's a really, really good one. They're all good, but this, it's special. Special for me out of this tasting, Really. I really enjoy this beer. So there's a question coming out. Normally, I had to ask this question at the beginning, but Wander Beyond Brewing, where the name comes from, where the logo comes from, explain us a little bit.
So the name. So yeah, the name took us a couple of weeks to come up with. So I don't know if I briefly mentioned it at the beginning, where I'd obviously taken on the unit, got the equipment all signed off, and was getting that, manufactured down at Malrex. Worked a lot, closely with them to make sure the brewery was to the specification I wanted it, the equipment. And basically worked through anyway on my own. And I hadn't spent any time to think about branding or logos, names, anything like that. And I'd already produced my first beer. And so what ended up happening was people started calling it, well, mainly my dad and people around me, close to me, who knew what the brewery was, who knew what my name was, were calling it, Dan's Brewery, like the brewery Dan's working on. And so for sort of, probably less than a year, or just over a year, it was sort of like Dan's Brewery, and there was no artwork, no nothing, because I hadn't got round to that. I was so focused on the equipment and producing the beers. But then as soon as I decided, right, we need more people, definitely need to get Matt on board, need to get Tina on board. And as soon as brought them guys on, Tina's first role was, right, we need to come up with a new thing. And she was like, right, what do we all enjoy? So she was saying, so myself and Tina both enjoy, like Simon said earlier, was doing the climbing and bouldering. And so you'll see some of the can artwork is actually inspired by boulders, which is kind of cool. And then Matt also is a huge cycling nerd. I don't know if that's right, but he's massively into his bike rides. He'll do like 100-mile bike rides or 150. I'm not even sure what his record is. He'll probably come in and be like, "Oh, you totally undersold me there. It should mile bike rides," So, but he's always pushing himself to do these big bike rides. And so we sort of sat down and discussed like what we want to do with the brewery. We know where we want the beers to go, and we know what we like doing in our personal time, as it were, and what we like to do, and how can we involve it all. And then we started throwing words around and stuff, and we came up about after a week or so, between doing everything else, of Wander Beyond. So that was where the name came from. And then the logo was an interesting one. Was basically, we came up with a name after about 2 weeks, and then we were like, right, we've got a name. So it was like, right, Tina, can you come up with some logos? And so she did, I think it was like 2 pages in a sketchbook. It's not a notebook, it's a sketchbook. So she came up with two pages and just full of little doodles of different logos. And I just looked at it and went, right, that one, that's the one. And it was this one.
Okay.
She just literally just nailed it there. And so that she'd done that in like 20 minutes. She'd done 2 full pages in a sketchbook. So it's weird. It took us 2 weeks to come up with a name, but like the logo, she just, it was just one of them that clicked. And I know some other breweries a lot of other breweries, 6 months, 12 months developing names, brands, logos and whatnot. And unfortunately for Tina, we just didn't give her the time, because we were making the beer and we just said, right, we're going to need a name, a logo and stuff. And it just shows you the brilliance that she has in that way, that she could get it on point. She took the core points of what we want to be about, what we enjoy, and tried to do it.
And then the triangle should be a mountain. Is this right?
Yeah, it should be a mountain with a pint. So like a standard pint glass sort of behind.
Pint. Class. Okay. Cool.
If it's next to a mountain, it's a big pint. I would say that. But yeah, the best thing about the logo to me is that the cans and the artwork is so intricate. The logo is just stark and bold and simple. And and it makes perfect sense that it came up 20 minutes to make it, because it is that abstract kind of simple geometric shapes, lines, logo, job done on front of a can, and then allow your creativity to shine with the artwork. I think it's fantastic.
No, I agree.
She's done, again, another good job.
Tina is magic, as I mentioned at the beginning, Never met her, but she seems to be magic. Yeah, it's okay.
Marcus, are you giving Tina a pay rise as well? Or
No one tell her about this.
Okay.
Probably watching.
But I know now that I have to visit you guys as well. So next trip will be in the UK. There are so many people I have to meet, and then I will come up to the north to see you guys in Manchester. Yeah. There's a question coming out. If you're collaborating with Marble Brewing when it comes to sourcing ingredients, buying ingredients, using, I don't know, if they have some lab staff, is there something you are using out that your mother owns Marble Brewing and you say, okay, we can buy ingredients together, save some money and all that kind of stuff, or not?
No. We've kept it very separate because in the UK, there's two aspects of this. Is one that I kind of wanted to do it, away from, wanted to do it this way rather than necessarily being told to do it that way or whatever. But also, it's a bit. Oh, sorry, excuse me.
It's okay.
So, no, we have collaborated on individual beers before. So we've done a couple of collabs. We've actually got a couple of barrels in the room next door to me of a collab that we did with... So Joe, my brother, came over and did a brew day here, the same as any other breweries would collab. And we've got a couple of, I think, red wine and maybe a couple of whiskey barrels of quite a big fruity stout in barrel there, which I'm looking forward to tasting soon. So we have collaborated in those ways, and I've done brews over at their new site, which I have to admit I'm quite jealous of. Their new site is amazing.
It's amazing.
It's one of them where, like, obviously they had their original kit, it was the second iteration of the original kit, and then I got this new kit, and then it was like, well, we're gonna get a new kit, and so like they're on the latest kit basically is amazing, and so we've done a brew over there, and so we've collaborated on individual recipes at different sites, same as other breweries, but in terms of trying to up buying power, I suppose, was that the question, in that, like, buying hops or buying malt or anything like that? No, it's all separate. It's totally different. We probably are missing out in a way from that point of view, but the opposite in that, well, I don't know. It's not the reason why or anything, but if we were to collaborate in that sort of way, we would, in the UK way that they work duty out and stuff like that. Okay,
that's the point.
Is that we would be linked together, and we have a small brewery relief system over here. So that wasn't the original thing. Basically, the thing is that I'm doing my own brewery, and I have to admit I can be a bit of a stick in the mud on wanting to do.
Yes, you can. Yes, you
can. So I don't think that was one of the reasons I didn't. Why I was so lucky to set up and do it on my own is that I could actually do it this way.
Dan doesn't like to be told how to do things. Dan likes to do things his way, very much so, and it's worked. It's definitely worked so far. So power to him, but there is always that danger, isn't there, of compromise if you work closely with another brewery. And I don't think we were willing to do that.
Yeah, and it's the thing is as well is, obviously I grew up around it, and if anyone's met my mum or my brother or myself, I'd say we're all fairly, well, especially mum, very strong people. So I think give it up to them to doing it the way they're doing it. It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
It's perfect. Next question is Teresa is asking, is Goes part of your current production range at the moment? So do you produce Goes at the moment? How long do your beers stay changed? So how long you have beers available before you change it? And they are not for sales anymore, So normally how long you have a beer on stock? And do you already produce any Goes? Are there any tests at the moment, pilot kind of things? Because you mentioned that Matt is really into it.
What? So Goses? Yeah. We did paddle was our first Goes, and we did a pineapple one.
Okay.
Long ago.
It was called Pineapple Blood. It's a cool question because it was one of your first ever canned beers. This, so the Go style is pretty warm to our hearts, isn't it? Did you hear that? Sorry, Dan.
No, I think my internet kicked out for a second.
Oh, sorry. I was saying that it's quite a cool question in that obviously Paddle was one of the first beers we brewed. It's quite a style quite close to our hearts. And obviously we did the Pineapple Plod recently. We don't have Goes now, but in terms of how quickly our beers move, they move relatively quickly. Obviously we say we brew once a week. That's because we're able to. As Marcus will know, we offered him
just have to check on that 1 second.
That's okay, but we offered Marcus a range of beers, and within a month we were changing that range, weren't we? We were telling you the new things that were coming out, and that, whilst we're a small brewery, we are able to produce that amount of beer on a consistent weekly basis, and it will go. So, like I said, with the Deep Bloom, we did 4,000 cans on that one run. It didn't last long. I managed to save some for Austria, but it lasted maybe a matter of weeks before we had to go and we basically replace it on the availability list. So they don't hang around long, really, for us. I think majority because we're not a bigger brewery, but also because we have this niche following that really do want our beers on a regular basis. And you see that every week when we drop a new beer onto our online shop. Just how these beers are, and it sometimes it surprises us just how much people want them.
No, it's cool that so many people want your beers. But to give a short answer is yes, you already did a Goes, but at the moment there is not anything.
No Goes
with a Goes, and normally a beer stays before it's sold out 1 week, or roughly 1 week.
Maybe a bit longer than 1 week. You've got a bit of time. There's no rush on it, but we never have to worry about how long they're staying for. Mm-hmm. But more than a week, definitely, because our traditional path is we brew a beer, we can our beer, we offer it onto the online shop first. 2 weeks later, we will give it to UK trade. For you guys across Europe, you get it straight away. So as soon as we can have it, you guys get it. But you'll have, I would say, within a month, the beer's gone. So you're fine. There's plenty of time, and we will always reserve some beers for our good friends over in Austria. Don't you worry about that.
Perfect. Good to know. Good to hear.
No, always, Marcus. But the Goes beer, we have done a couple. And a very intriguing style of beer as well. If I'm right in thinking, just a layman's terms, Leipzig's the place for Goes beers, isn't it? It's where salty sour kind of style of beer. We did Paddle, we did Pineapple Plod, and I imagine at some point in the future, I'm not privy to the brew schedule like Dan and Matt is. Sadly, they've got their claws into that. I don't get to have a say, because if they did, the beers would not be as good if I had any say. So it's probably for the best that I am just selling and not making. But yeah, Goes, we love Goes. It's just not at the moment. That's all.
Cool. And tell us percentage of domestic and export. So how many beers? Production is around 1,000 hectoliters. So 90% are sold in the UK and 10% are abroad. Or
Well, I will tell you something that Dan probably would not tell you while he's away. If you can sell more of your beer exports, you will make more money. That's just natural. It doesn't matter which country in the world you are, that will be the case. We don't tend to worry about how much goes where and which. We would like, I mean, because we like to get our beer on our online shop first and obviously to export first, that will be the preferable way to go. But we do love selling to our UK people as well, because it means that your beer in a normal market, not with COVID, your beer would be on pumps, on taps, in cans, in fridges, everywhere people can see it. That's how we want to sell it. I would say it's pretty much 50-50, 50%, Marcus. It's very, very even down the middle. Online shop aside, in particular, if I had to say who I sell the most to from European and worldwide sales compared to the UK sales, yeah, I would say it's about 50% split.
Okay. Oh.
And I think that's quite cool. It all depends. Like we have, I mean, obviously you guys took a great order, your first order. I was really appreciative of it. But certain markets appreciate it better. Like you say, the Austrian market is very focused on certain styles. We find that the hotter countries in Europe tend to err away to more easier styles. But then you go to Asia markets, China and Japan, Singapore. Those markets absolutely smash our beers. They love our beers. They absolutely adore them. And I think the artwork applies to some extent over there, but also they will take a ridiculous amount of beers for that market. So obviously each month is different, but yeah, I would say 50-50 is about as good as an estimate as I could give.
Cool.
Roughly, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to our final beer, by the way, Marcus, because it's one of my favorites.
Really?
Yeah.
Imperial butter, but I would say we go for the last beer.
Let's do it. We don't need that. This is the one that will get me the most in trouble with my wife when we get home. Oh, he's back.
Yes,
how many rises have you given him now? How many pay rises?
At least 3, Daniel. At least 3. We're just about to move up. You have to put that one down, Dan. We're on to the...
Oh, bloody hell.
I was saying, this is surprisingly one of my favourite beers we've done since I've been at the brewery side.
Yeah?
I'll allow Marcus to introduce it.
Is it a new one?
Oh, quite new, yeah.
Yeah, this was the first batch of it.
Okay.
This is a Dark River, our Imperial Porter.
Then?
I'm best to hold it to my side, just to make sure everyone can see it. It's like a trophy.
Working that camera, working it.
I am my best. I'm not so photogenic.
I don't know. Oof.
Appreciate you, Dan. So, Dan, as a lover of Imperial Stouts, I know this is a porter. Does that make a big difference?
I use the stout glass, so yeah.
Oh, very nice. Look at that. We've got a professional over there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a picture of all these tasters, Marcus, and send them over to you so you can add it to social media. I'll send it to you.
And also to Kevin. Send it also to Kevin, and then.
Oh, will do. Let's try and get a picture now.
So then, this is a straight Imperial Porter.
Yeah. Excuse me. A bit too excited there. Yeah, which is quite unusual for us. So I'll try and do it some justice here, but in full honesty, Matt and Tina were behind this beer. So the first iteration was both Matt and Tina went over to Keys Brewery, and they did a brew over there with them, and good time, and started, obviously chatting, drinking, whatnot. talking about what beer they're going to do when they come over here. And so I think, I don't know which way it was. Obviously, I wasn't there, so I'm not sure which way it was suggested or not, but was to do this an imperial porter. And that wasn't actually this beer, but it was called Stormcats. Because both Keys and Matt, so Keys Bowman and Matt had a Matt, what was Matt? You there? That was good timing. Just talking about the Dark River.
Get him on, Dan. Get him on. Come on, say hello.
Oh, come in. Yeah, it's this way. Actually, yeah.
Hey.
Here we go. If you can.
Covered in blackberry.
I am indeed.
Hey.
Hello.
We're just talking about that.
Oh, the Dark River.
So I was just
Come a
about to
little
say
bit closer. Come a little bit closer.
Yeah, get in. Come on.
Get in. That's perfect. Leave the computer, leave the camera. Only it's COVID, so yeah. Social distancing. No,
2
okay.
meters.
It's okay. Nice to meet you. We heard a lot and learned a lot about you. So now we get a face. Good to hear and good to see.
That's it. Well, what was the question about the Dark River?
No, I just started to say about the Stormax was the first one, and I was about to say you and Keys both liked. Was it Stormax? Is the first?
Yeah, so there's a beer called Stormax Porter by Kagan, Scandinavian brewery, and it was maybe about 15 or 20 years ago. It was one of the original sort of imperial stouts, and then barrel-aged imperial stouts that had like a bit of a worldwide hype about it, and everyone was chasing it, and it was one of them difficult beers to get hold of. But I was talking to Keys when we did the original collab, which is Stormcats, and he said that he got into brewing by brewing a homebrew clone of this Stormax Porter recipe, and it won a load of awards or whatever, and that's how he got into brewing. So we said, well, for the return leg of our collab, let's do exactly the same recipe on our kit. So that's how it came around. And then we sort of evolve recipes and tweak things and try and make things a little bit more exciting or change them. And then that's how the Dark River came around. So we just bolstered up the ABV and slightly tweaked the malt grist, and that's how that came around, yeah.
There you go.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, nearly there.
But then look how easy it is to explain it, when you get a professional into the interview, It was
Someone
easy,
who knows what's going on.
No,
Matt, we've been singing your praises, but now you're on screen. I don't feel comfortable doing so.
It says singing your praises. We definitely not.
We've been certainly. I said this is one of my favourite beers that we've canned since I've been here. And it did surprise us because obviously Wander Beyond, big bold flavour, lots of adjuncts. It's a bit unique for our style, but it just ticks all the boxes of an imperial porter, and I think it shows what we're able to do everything. It's not just the stupid flavors. It proves that when we do these crazy other beers, that we focus it particularly on them as well as everything, as well as the basics, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think fundamentally we're quite known for the big imperial milkshakes and things like that. But I think the core sort of fundamental thing is just about the enjoyment of the beer. And we've blurred style sort of guidelines in the past, and you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. But actually, if you enjoy the product and it's got some flavour and integrity, there's no reason why you can't. So I think Dark River, like you said, is an example of that. There's no adjuncts, there's nothing else, but the malt shines. There's a great balance, and it's a bloody tasty beer as well. So, yeah.
And 14.
It's a really good one, especially when it comes to really alone standing styles. That's the most difficult beers to brew. No additional flavors, nothing added. Only make it on the point, and that's Also the beer before, this chameleon passion. I was chatting with Dan and Simon, and I told him, that's before I had this Dark River, I had this one, and it was because it's really difficult to come to the point, it's only sour added with one additional fruit. And that shows, really, because there's no space for any off flavors. It's passion fruit and it's a kettle sour, and you have to make it on the point, because
it's very clean. Yeah,
there's always space to treat a little bit. If something happens or you're not happy, you always can do something. But the last two ones, they really give you an example, that you guys are understanding what you're doing, and that's really, really superb.
No, thanks very much. Appreciate that. Yeah.
No, really.
I'm glad someone knows what's going on around here.
I hope I understand my business, So.
I'm not sure if they're having a either. I can't work out what's going on.
What?
I think they're trying to insult me, Marcus, from next door. I can't quite work out if
we're teaming up. We're teaming up. Red team.
They're teasing me.
Yeah, well, I'm sort of purple team, but I look like I've cut myself. But
covered in fruit.
Yeah.
We did say you were going to be covered in blackberry before. You can see it on your sleeve.
Yeah, it's stained the floor as well. But that's what you get, isn't it? It's all part of the fun.
Craft hassle.
Yeah.
So Matthew, now you are here, and now the first brewing question is coming. Sonia is asking which kind of yeast you're using for Dark River.
It's actually a very, it's an American strain, but it's a clean strain. It's a popular strain. So there's there's very minimal in terms of ester profile or anything like that. It's all about the malt pretty much.
But which kind of yeast strain you're using? Is this a secret?
It's all I'm going to say is it's a clean American strain. I'm not going to say exactly which strain, but it's a clean American strain.
Okay.
Oh, well, we got off light there. If you'd asked me that, I would have definitely told you. But we're keeping it close. Keep the cards close to our chest on that one.
Okay. No. Good. Okay.
But I don't know. Was that a question from, because you've had the live questions coming in? Was that from someone?
Yeah, he is now online. So she is now online, and she was asking this question, what yeast strain you're using for Dark River? I told you, before, if you don't want to answer any question, then it's okay, if you.
But no, I think maybe more than the strain is. I don't know. Matt will probably disagree here with me. Is maybe if it's like a home brewer or someone who's looking for like a little bit of a hint or a clue is.
It's more like a hint, because Sonia is
and stuff
kind
like
of
that, maybe.
Home brewing, and we had so many tastings, and because in my opinion, if you tell it's a yeast strain you bought, from, I don't know, from White Claw or from Michael Lab, so it's,
Yeah,
it's a clean American strain, but I think what we've done with it in Dark River is fermented it very cleanly, and instead of just having a big original gravity, we've actually drip-fed it some sugar to keep it clean throughout fermentation. So, if anyone was interested in trying to sort of recreate that flavour profile from the yeast, that's how we've achieved it with Dark River.
And definitely keep control of the temperature.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just in case that question was aimed towards that idea.
No, it's fair enough.
These guys with the yeast strains, come on, spill the beans, don't be tight.
So don't you worry about that.
I can sit in this room next door and feel protected.
Sounds going to bust through any minute.
So then, another question is coming out from Gabriela. You remember Gabriela asked this question? Yes, and so she's asking what you guys are thinking about nitro beers, and is this something you're looking for? Can that be something in the future? What you guys want to do?
Yeah, it's definitely something we've actually had a few good goes at. To be fair, haven't we? I mean, I'm keeping you now. Actually, don't feel you have to stick around.
I've only got to be two minutes, if that's okay.
Matt's been in all day, and it's.
has he?
Yeah, Simon starts later usually, so.
Okay.
But but anyway, back to the nitro.
But yeah, nitro. We've done some nitro beers in the past, but keg only beers. I think in terms of processing, we've found it difficult to actually nail the flavour profile in small pack and to get it spot on. We have given it a go, but obviously because we focus on quality, we don't really want to be releasing anything that's a little bit subpar. So we've just kept that to keg, which is purely just because we're such a small sort of company here, just how difficult it is to sort of get into nitro beers. I wouldn't say that we're sort of never going to do it or anything like that. It might be an option, but for us, it's much easier to control the flavour if we do it just with CO2 for now.
Yeah.
Okay, for now. Yeah,
I don't know. This might be my...
For now.
Yeah. For me, if we were going to do nitro cans, I mean, I'll probably get caught out on this at some point, is that we probably want to get like a bit more equipment on our canning line so that we could do it in can. Whereas we've been able to release them in keg before without needing too much extra equipment. So we've done a few keg releases where they've been nitro, and I think they've yielded all right results, haven't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Like they've actually, to be honest, the ones we've done, I think they've lended themselves to it in a way.
Yeah.
As a seller of Dan's beers, when I ran the Not Bar, the Great Rift in nitro was a success, very much so.
Oh, it's a great Rift album.
The Great Rift is a success in any form, though, Simon.
Oh, is it? Sorry, my bad.
It's a running joke.
There's a bit of a running joke there, but it was pretty
My go-to nitro stout in a can is Left Hand. We got yesterday delivered the peanut butter stout nitro version.
Send me a bottle for Christmas, Marcus. It's the quintessential. It is the winner.
Send me your address and I will send you a can, because we did not get any bottles. We get it canned. No, really.
Oh, here we go.
Send me your address and I will send you. I'm gonna send it to the brewery.
Yeah, of course you can.
And you can share it, because we got.
Although make sure you address it to myself, Marcus.
Okay. So, guys, I would say maybe you have some last words to your Austrian consumers.
No,
before we finish it.
From my point of view, we keep releasing new beers, different styles, things that are a little bit exciting. Just keep trying them. There might be a couple of beers that maybe some people aren't a fan of, but I can absolutely guarantee that somewhere along the line there'll be something that really blows you away. So stick with it and just enjoy the journey. Really, that's what I'd say.
That's a statement from the head brewer.
Wow, I like it.
Ben, you have something to say?
Ooh. Have a good time. I'm very useless at this sort of thing. Time to bring it home.
Marcus, I've got something to say. Thank you. Thank you very much for having us. I really appreciate it. Everybody in Austria who's enjoying our beers right now, we can't say enough about how appreciative we are of it. And honest to God, the beers we send out there, we try our best with. They are full of love, and we hope you're enjoying them. We really do. And honest to God, thanks so much for the appreciation, because we love it. We really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you for these kind words. Give the words back. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for spending the time with us. I know you're busy brewing, Madrid brewing, then I have to go, but you take the time to do this tasting, and we really appreciate that. Beers are really good, and I hope that we see each other soon face to face.
Yeah, more than welcome anytime you want to come over. More than welcome.
Stay a little bit, don't switch off the cameras right now. So, wir kommen zum Ende der heutigen und letzten Verkostung.
I'm going to have to go, but thanks very much.
So, Matthew muss wieder brauen gehen, darum geht er jetzt retour in die Brauerei. Alles okay. Ich will noch sagen, danke, nochmals, so wie ich eingangs erwähnt habe, danke für diese 26 Verkostungen, die wir gemeinsam gehabt haben. Danke für euer Vertrauen. Es gibt nicht mehr viel zum Sagen. Es wird im Jänner weitergehen. Ich wünsche euch jetzt und euren Familien, Kindern, dass ihr gesund bleibt. Ich wünsche euch frohe Weihnachten und natürlich einen guten Rutsch. Und ich hoffe, dass wir in ein besseres 2021 gehen. Und ich würde mich freuen, wenn wir uns im Jänner wiedersehen. In diesem Sinne sage ich nochmals Danke und das meine ich ganz ehrlich. Danke fürs Vertrauen. Schönen Abend und genießt noch den Rest der Biere. Bis bald. Gute Nacht.